Welcome back, Rage Nation. Got myself Pete here.
That's not really exciting.
You got Senior Dixon.
I don't think that's appropriate.
And we got Monsieur Leopard.
Explorers deserved it. No.
Absolutely.
I was disgusted. I cannot believe they've done this.
Bayou's wacky, Bayou's not good, it's just nonsense.
I disagree on that. That's not possible.
We're getting the band back together. We're on a mission. Yeah.
Now we've got a whole new list of things to complain about.
Welcome back, Rage Nation. We are at it again. Got myself Pete here. And with us, we of course have us Monsignor Dixon. Dixon, how are things going? Hopefully, have you guys gotten nailed by any of these hurricanes? I've seen a couple coming down your way.
No, just a lot of water and some minor earthquakes. So we lost power and water like off and on for the last 4 days, but only 2 to 3 times. That's about it.
Okay, so not super terrible then. And then
no, it's fine. I'm just glad that nothing has hit. I mean, knock on wood, pray to God, just stays like that. We got 2 more weeks.
Yeah, right. But with us, we also have Doug, also known as Texas Doug, because there are so many Dougs in the Doug Malifaux universe or multiverse.
So many Dougs. There's so many of us. We're taking over, but not as many as Nathans.
Yeah, right. I get so confused. There's Nathans, Nates, and I'm just like, I played one of the Nathans at the Fauxdown last year, and I was like, wait, are you this Nate? And he's like, no, that's the Nate from Maryland or the Nate from here. I'm like, oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah. I this literally came up in Discord the other day, because then also different people, depending on which Discord channel, they will have different names here and there, and I'm like, oh wait, it's like, okay, I could swear you were this one, but no, you changed your picture, so now I'm no longer sure you're you. We played at GenCon, right? It's like, yeah, we did.
Well, not only that, but depending on the Discord server you're on, you can change your name specifically for that Discord server. So it's not anymore. So
100%. I keep mine consistent just to keep people so they know who I am. But to be fair, it still gets confusing because there's so many of us Dougs.
We brought John Doug because we're going to talk about the Houston Fauxdown, just some generals about it, kind of look at the pools real quick just to see what we think. And then we actually are going to also talk about your experience with Marcus 1 and Neverborn. I always have people asking me about Marcus Arcanist questions, so it's going to be interesting to see if there's some parallels there with him in Neverborn as well.
Oh, I think he's better in Neverborn than he is.
I think so too.
Both versions of him are better in Neverborn than they are in Arcanist.
Well, I think, and we'll get into this when we talk about it, but I think a lot of people tend to defer to the title because they think it's better. But I actually think there's a lot of power in the original as well. But
especially in this Gaining Grounds.
Yeah. Yep. But before we get into it, make sure that you guys are checking us out. You can do that on our Discord channel. We always got that popping off. I just got the Discord chatting about Bayou probably about 10 minutes ago. So I was just like, Bayou's like the sirens, man. They're calling me to the rocks. And yeah, that's probably going to happen again. We'll see what happens with that. But you can also check us out on our YouTube channel. And then if you want to support us directly, you can do that by going to patreon.com/RageQuitWire, where you can support us in pumping out content, because we love putting out weekly podcasts for y'all and the occasional videos and whatever other nonsense we can think about. And then if you go to Weird, you can use our affiliation link. Check that out in the description. And a little bit that you buy from Weird goes to the podcast, so we can buy random boxes that we need to make content. It's like a vicious cycle. It's weird. Oh, man. But so Doug, this is the 3rd year you're going to be doing the Fauxdown, man. How you feeling going into year 3?
Okay, I'm looking forward to it. This year leading up to it has been a very busy year for me. Back in January, I started teaching at a local college, so that's kind of, thrown off my schedule and thrown off I should be doing this thing, I should be doing that thing.
Yeah.
Also, we hosted the North American Faux Tour National Championship in Houston back in June. So, hey, another big event in Houston. So, I feel more prepared than I was for year one, but I don't feel quite as ready and rocking as I was last year.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see that. I feel like it's a little later in the year that you started doing your promo stuff, but you're still more than a month out, so you're still ahead of the
Yep,
ahead of the
we're about
curve
a
here.
month and a half out.
Yep. So, yeah, just give us a quick kind of rundown of when it is for people and what they can kind of expect going into the weekend here.
Cool. I'm going to drop a link to... here we go. Actually, there that is. You already dropped it in the chat right as I was going to. So, yeah, if you want to get tickets for this, tickets are on sale, LoneStarFauxdown.com/events. So what it is October 11th through the 13th, hosting a GT here in Houston, Texas at the amazing Dragon's Lair, which Pete and Dixon, you have both been there. This store,
Oh yeah,
it's gorgeous. This is what, it's a dream come true for pretty much anyone walking into a game store. That they've got enough space in there that we could honestly run an event with over 70 people if we wanted to, and still have at least a foot in between each of the 3x3 spaces. So we've got room to grow, which is always good.
and good AC.
Good
Everybody
AC.
assumes, yeah, like, oh, it's in Texas, it's gonna be very hot. It's like you won't even notice the heat until like you step outside.
Oh yeah, well, and that's one of the reasons we do it in October, is because it starts to cool down here around October.
That is true. That is
and so, yeah, you would not want to do an event here in August. I don't want to exist here in August. Outside is...
that. I mean, as somebody that's like, because I'm in Puerto Rico, which is always going to be warm. It's not hot, but it's always going to be warm. It's a good reminder for all the listeners, if you're coming from outside of, let's say you're coming from Australia or from somewhere that you're expected to be hot during October, do know you need to dress warm. I forgot that it gets cold in Texas.
Yeah, bring
Yeah,
a hoodie.
I think specifically in the evenings, Dixon forgot like, oh yeah, it's going to dip down to like the 70s.
Yeah, and I forgot to bring like a skull cap or anything, and my head was just like steaming.
Oh yeah, I'll go. I'll crochet you a little beanie then.
Yeah, because I mean, I even like I've been to a lot of good game stores. Like Gigabytes in Atlanta is really good.
I've heard good things about that one.
Yeah, and there's a couple other really good stores. Like if you've been to a game castles are usually pretty decent. And this is significantly bigger than both those stores that I've been to that have been like really good. Even what was the one up in Virginia? Was that Huzzah Hobbies?
Yep, Huzzah Hobbies.
I think it's actually pretty comparable to that, but I actually think it's bigger than Huzzah.
Well, and
yes, it is.
Something that so Rob, the owner of Dragon's Lair, was really striving to do with this is he wanted to make it not just a space for retail. He wanted to make it a space where you could bring the community together. I mean, yes, we are not, obviously we're not the only community that they have there. And let's be honest, card games keep game stores alive. It's just the way it is. Mm-hmm. But their intention was to have a space that was welcoming to all, that you could, find a game there when you want a game, and that they have the space to run large events. And they do. They have pulled it off better than anyone else I've seen. With the tabletop tavern that they've got there, you're able to, have food there. You can have, a beer at the gaming table while you're playing a game. You say, hey, you know what? I want some tater tots. And, they can you can eat some tater tots while you're playing with your terror tots. And I love it. It's great because the staff there is friendly. Rob and Christine, the two owners of it, do a really good job of bringing in a staff that is welcoming to everyone and who gets really enthusiastic about games. Like, Heck, they have, obviously, I'm here tonight, not at Dragon's Lair tonight, but most Monday nights, I would be up at Dragon's Lair doing a paint night where they started doing a community paint night
Nice.
where you just set up a bunch of tables, sit down, bring your hobby stuff, and just, hobby. And it's been really great for, a lot of new hobbyists who are like, hey, I don't know how to get started. Well, like, hey, come over here. And then a month or two passes and they are painting so well. It's like, man, I've been painting for 30 years. Oh man, I wish I had something like this when I first got started, which is great.
I tell a lot of new players that like you can learn to like slap chop. That'll make your models look like really decent with not nearly as much effort as I probably had to do back in the 90s. Like
Also,
back in the 90s, it was rough.
Also, something that a lot of newer painters think they think that technique is supposed to make it more difficult. It is the opposite. So listen to any tricks, any gimmick, or anything that makes it easier. That's literally the whole point.
Yeah, and Doug, so kind of pointing back towards the event.
Oh yeah.
So you have several events going on, but just a quick question leading back into that: if I'm a newer player and my stuff isn't painted, can I still play in these events? I don't know if it's mandatory.
Yes. So one of the changes that they put into the Gaining Grounds document back when they first launched the Gaining Grounds document as it is now. It used to be that major tournaments, it was like, oh, you got to be painted for major tournaments. And as someone who I do a lot with, a lot of hobbying, I do a lot of painting. Heck, my job is, sculpting terrain.
Yeah.
I was always a big proponent of rewarding hobbyists there. But they decided to put into the Gaining Grounds document that painting is not necessary. And I kind of came around on that is I do not require painted models, but painting is strongly encouraged.
Yeah.
That, if it's a model that currently exists, it needs to be that model. Obviously, the new Ashes book came out recently, so we don't have all the models from that. So I am accepting proxies for Ashes models. If you've got a question on those, reach out to me on the Discord or, email me, Doug at Top Dog Design, and I can, answer any proxy questions. But
yeah, and it sounds like going into the weekend, like I know a bunch of us are getting in on Thursday, and I know that Thursday and Friday are kind of open play days, except for I think in the evening Friday you guys have one of your side events.
Yeah, so Thursday is our normal Malifaux night at Dragon's Lair. So essentially, I'll be starting my set. I mean, we're not shutting things down there. They're still got, their normal other stuff in the store there. But as space is available for us, I'm starting to, set up the terrain, queuing everything up, getting the tables laid out, and getting ready. So, yeah, if you get in on Thursday, come on in, get a game in. We've got, guys will be there to play, and it's awesome. Friday, we've got open play all day long, and then in the evening, we're doing a Henchman Hardcore.
Yeah, and the cool thing about the Houston Fauxdown is $55 is what you pay to get into it, and that'll get you the Henchman Hardcore on Friday. That'll get you into the 2-day tournament Saturday and Sunday, and then you guys also do the Bonanza Brawl Saturday, right?
Yes, we do the Bonanza Brawl karaoke Saturday. So, well, part of it is that I love Bonanza Brawl. It's one of the most beginner-friendly formats out there because it's a death match. You get everyone on the table, and it's absolutely ridiculous shenanigans. The one downside to it is I describe it's like the Munchkin of Malifaux.
Nice.
That, like, what? The board game Munchkin is a lot of fun until one person takes it too seriously. And then that sucks the joy out of it for everyone.
Yeah.
Same with Bonanza Brawl. That so long as everyone recognizes, look, we're playing a ridiculous format here, but if one person takes it too seriously or gets butthurt because, oh, I died, or, oh, well, you should have gone after that guy. He's more, he's a much more advantageous target. It's like, yeah, but I wanted to kill you because it seemed more fun. Once someone takes it too seriously, it kind of sucks the joy out of the room.
Yeah.
It becomes a slog. And so by doing karaoke at the same time, it kind of keeps it more light, more casual, full of, shenanigans. Many
If
of their
you're doing
shenanigans come
karaoke,
if you drink.
does that mean the Danger Planet people are coming?
So right now, I believe Brandon is coming. Last I chatted with Danger Planet Doug, he was trying to arrange it with work so he could make it. So
Sweet.
really hoping. But
well, then you always have Landon if he shows up singing Du Hast. So
Yep. Well, the other fun thing is that the tavern really loves us doing the karaoke because we currently hold the Fauxdown last year holds the record for the most number of kegs killed during an event. So we drink 40K in Age of Sigmar under the table. Blood Bowl came very, very close.
Jeez.
But we hold the record for the most number of kegs killed.
Man, and Dixon and I didn't add to that. Yeah, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure neither of us drank that weekend, Dixon.
Yeah, no, we don't. I mean, I can't drink because of, medicine, but like you didn't drink for choices.
That's because I like my tobacco, so I just decided to smoke a bunch of cigars.
That's fair.
And, it also, if you are a person who does not drink, no judgment. They've got plenty of other taste. They've actually got really good coffee.
We had a handful of people under 21 that still enjoyed the event immensely.
Oh, yeah. And we had, the Canadians who, I think they were out at the Thirsty Tex until like close and then kept drinking in their hotel. It was absolutely nutty. I loved it.
I played one of the Pacific Northwest dudes. I can't remember his name, but I played him and he could not hold it together very well. He was struggling quite mightily when we were trying to do Carve a Path last year.
On Sunday. Yeah, there was definitely a few people who were, they had tied more than one on the night before. But, everyone had fun. But one of the other, you'd mentioned that, $55 gets you into all of the events for the weekend. Well, one of the other awesome things is that because we're not attached to a convention, since we're doing this, our own independent event, essentially after I cover the cost for booking the space at Dragon's Lair, which they also, because they're super awesome and they are, I've been, friends with the owners for a good while now. They give us a very good deal on it. Pretty much everything else that comes from the ticket price, I roll back into the event as prize support. Yep. Last year, I did Fate decks. I've decided to do, Fate decks is going to be kind of an every other year thing because first off, it's a major outlay of cost and it takes a while to design. But I figure, doing it every single year removes the specialness from it. But if I do it every other year, I can, keep it special. But I've got some really cool swag lined up that I don't have it in my hands yet, but it should be, the prototype should be done sometime this week, and then they'll be sending me the full production run, which is going to be really cool.
You guys do a good job with that. Like, obviously, the Fate deck was good for a lot of people last year, but also the you guys always usually do like a widget and like some markers or something, and then on top of whatever else you throw in the bag as well.
Yep, the widget, the markers, and then usually, I've got to finish up the design for it. But what Dragon's Lair does is, for the prize support from Dragon's Lair, is they do T-shirts for everyone.
Yeah,
and so
it's definitely like, if you aren't used to going to like an event for like Malifaux or other tabletop games, 55 seems like a lot, but the sheer amount of games you get in the weekend, on top of just people that you just never will be able to play anywhere else, because if you don't travel, you just don't get the opportunity to play maybe certain factions, keywords, and people that you just don't have exposure to. But then on top of that, it's an awesome experience, and everybody ends up getting some kind of prize towards the end as well, because there's, obviously prize support, but then there's just, hey, here's the raffle. We're going to pull names.
Yeah. Oh, and one of the big things that after running it the first year was that the feedback I got that I have since amended the way I run a major tournament is that a lot of times the people who are coming first, second, third, your podium, well, they don't all. Those are people who they've already probably got the special boxes. They've got the those really nice they've got the nightmare boxes. They've got the other rare unique boxes, and they tend to be the people who don't need that extra stuff there. So, yep, I do, with biggest hat for first place and trophies and, something a little special for them. But when it comes to the prizes, I do it just strict raffle because I want everyone to get something. And you know what? Little Jimmy, where it's his first time coming out to a Malifaux event, I'd love it if his name got drawn first because then he gets to go and pick that awesome nightmare box and go, oh my gosh, I saw this somewhere, but it's not available. Now I've got it. Hooray!
We were at I was at a tournament in Oklahoma City, and I ended up getting first. It was like a 12-person tournament, and I ended up getting first out of it. But when they did the prize stuff, they picked names, and a newer player got to go up first, and they got one of those mystery boxes.
Nice.
And the alternate whiskey golem was in there.
Oh, nice.
And everybody was like jonesing about it. And you could just see the person really enjoyed getting that.
Oh, yeah. That's a great model. I mean, that came out my second year playing Malifaux. That was the Nightmare box. The second year I was playing Malifaux. So
yeah,
I think I've got an unbuilt one around here somewhere.
Well, I'm going to have to bust mine back out playing Tri-Chi because Tri-Chi is the thing that I think Tri-Chi and Zip are the two things that have me like wanting to play Bayou again.
And Maw.
Maw is always in the running.
Yeah, for me, it's no joke. Zip 2 specifically, and freaking Angler, and there's one Summer, Big Hat for sure. So those three.
I think theme-wise, because honestly, when it comes to what I end up playing, I go with the theme, not over how good it actually is. Like, I'll go, like, I'm going to play something that I like how it plays, and then I'll figure out how to make it work.
Yeah.
And of all of the themes in Bayou, Tri-Chi is kind of my favorite because beer hat ninjas.
That's right.
I just want beer hat ninjas, and that just seems like fun.
Yeah, so looking at the 2-day tournament, I mean, are you trying to shoot for more than you got last year, Doug? I don't know what you're
aiming for more than I've had last year. I'm not sure if we're going to hit there or not. It's still up in the air because
what was there 40 last year?
We had 52 registered, but then people had to back out because the larger the tournament, the more people you have who end up canceling. That's just the nature of the game. We ended up having, I could probably over 40 participated, mid 45-ish or something.
45.
Right. It was because it was the biggest at the time. The biggest
in North America.
I want to say it was not the biggest offline tournament. For Malifaux, yeah.
I phrased it as it was the largest Malifaux tournament in North America.
Yep.
Yeah, that specifically, yes.
Because I know that UK Nationals has theirs. They clear 100 on theirs, I think, pretty easily.
Oh yeah.
And you know what? I would love it if we could get the stuff over here in the United States to North America, because the Canadians have been showing up a lot. There's a lot. I know lots of awesome guys from up in Canada who came out for the Fauxdown, come out for Captain Con, come out for GenCon. Just super awesome dudes up there. And the issue is that we are, due to the nature of our geography, it's just really hard to get that many people together here because we're just so spread out, and we have garbage train systems.
Yeah,
That's the biggest one.
and I think also the thing that makes Houston a good spot for a lot of that is just, y'all have two airports, so it doesn't matter which one you fly into, and the prices, no matter where you're flying from, usually are pretty low because of that.
Pretty reasonable. If you're flying in for the Fauxdown and you have to pick one airport, all things equal, Bush International is the one that is physically closer
Yeah.
to the.
If you go to the other one, it's going to be like a 40-minute drive to get up.
But if it saves you money, because I think I know that out of Bush, there Southwest is cutting back on their number of flights out of Bush.
Yeah.
But Hobby down on the southeast side, that's been a major hub for Southwest for as long as I can remember, since before I moved to Houston.
Oh,
I used to connect through Houston when I was going elsewhere.
Yeah, so it's going to be a 6-round tournament on Saturday and then Sunday.
Yep, 3 rounds each day.
So looking at that, I mean, the pools you haven't posted in the player packet. You have kind of the rules. It looks like you're doing 2.5 hours for each round. You just want to kind of explain some of the things that maybe if either people are weary about the way a tournament kind of runs, what's the general setup you have that you think a player needs to know before coming into this event?
Well, one thing to make sure that you're aware of is that we are using chess clocks for the event. Now, since we started doing this, more and more people have started turning on chess clocks as well. I got to give credit to where credit is due. Ambrose up in the Pacific Northwest was the first to really start championing the use of chess clocks in Malifaux, and I was skeptical of them for a long time. But he convinced me, and honestly, they have solved so many issues that I would run into as a TO of argument over time, etc. And it really, even if you're haven't played with a clock before, well, I've got the full rules there. That the main thing to remember is, hey, whoever is thinking, that's who the time is running on. So if you are, do I cheat this or not? The time should be running on you.
Now, the one thing I will say about the clocks is, and this actually plays into, I think, the keyword that I decide, or keywords that I decide to play, because last year I played Stand Deep just all 6 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
And if you generate an action, even if your opponent's flipping cards for that action, it's still on your time. So all those shockwaves I was putting out, they were on my time, even though they were flipping for certain models in their crew.
Until they decide, as soon as do I cheat this? The clock should be on. And if you're playing a shockwave crew, or if you're playing a crew where you make the opponent take a lot of simple duels, you need to stay on top of the clock. The clock is running on them while they're flipping. But if they need to be taking the time to decide if they're cheating, the clock should
my rule of thumb is if your opponent starts doing the and they start looking and rubbing their face and stuff, it's like, okay, it's on you. Like, you need time to think about this clearly.
Oh yeah, and I mean, it's very. The clock advocate is, if you're just like, oh, they're thinking, I'm going to clock to you while you think. And the thing is that a lot of times that actually makes up their mind for them. They're like, oh,
it does.
I'm not going to cheat this. I know that when I'm using a clock, I know that I second guess myself far less than if I'm not using a clock.
I do want to add real fast, because this happened to me last year. I have to count to 3. So when I was at the tournament, I literally had to count to 3 and visibly to my opponent to let them know hey, I'm passing the clock back, because apparently I did it a little too fast for one of my opponents. So I'm giving you the heads up.
Well, and I will say too, Dixon, I mean, you're probably a good example of not being too freaked out by clock and tournaments and competitive environments, because you actually don't get a ton of games all the time, but you did very well and enjoyed yourself a lot at that event last year.
No, thank you. Well, I mean, I played a crap load of chess clock games in my time, though.
Yeah.
So it's like embedded in my muscle memory. It is basically the whole like riding a bike, because I've been playing with a chess clock off and on for the last like 20 years.
Yeah.
Funny thing was, I found when I was at GenCon, because a few weeks before GenCon, I went to the GT up in Boston, the Danger Planet put on, and they ran it with chess clocks. And so, when competitive mode, I'm like, okay, chess clocks. They didn't use clocks at GenCon. GenCon ends up being a little bit more casual, despite it being a large convention. Because, a lot of people, it's like, oh, they're one time a year to come out and, play a competitive game. But I kept almost saying, okay, clock to you. There weren't clocks there, but I went with like my hand go, okay, went to like go swing my hand.
I was doing that in the store the other day. I was like, there's not a clock there.
Towards the clock. Or I would say, and I would caught myself saying clock to you. It's like, oh, there's no clock. Okay. But it was just that muscle memory. You play one or two games with it and it really gets locked in. And I know that, let's see, at Boston, I don't think I had any games where we ended up totally clocked out. Every single game at Boston, I went to 5 rounds, I think. And most any games I play with on a chess clock go to 5 rounds, because you feel a little bit of the pressure from it, but you stop second guessing yourself and just, let yourself play. You're like, you know what? I'm just going with my gut feeling, because 99% of the time, if I'm like, I'm going to, I go with the thing I was going to first do anyways.
Yeah.
And that just keeps me from doing that, which I really like. Something else that we are implementing this year that was a recommendation. I'm just going to steal everything from the Pacific Northwest now. I'd love to steal their weather. I'm working on ways to steal their weather. But one thing I am...
That's pretty funny.
Well, because one thing that I'm really excited to be implementing here is we are restricting the deployment options. Okay. And by restricting the deployment options, I just mean that when it comes to which deployment zone you choose, you can't go, we're going to turn the board and we're going to take the sideways one. We'll just turn the board. No, it's which side is on the table is what you get. So you can't, go, I'm going to turn it. And if you have, if it's a diagonal deployment, it'll be the left-hand side on the table side you're on. So you're not picking either corner. You're picking the specific corner. And there's a little diagram in the player packet. And the reason for this is that when it comes to doing diagonal deployments, a lot of times it's like, I look at it from here. It's like, okay, that works this way. I look at it from the other way and go, oh, God, that doesn't work this direction at all. Or that corner hard screws it if you're stuck in that corner. So it allows me to set up the tables in advance and make sure that there is not a deployment where someone gets particularly screwed. But it's damn near impossible to do that if I go, okay, well, I've got to get the straight across, I got to get side to side, and I got to get both corners. It's nearly impossible to set up a table that works from whatever angle you're at.
So you're saying that they can't do left to right deployment at all?
Right. So
standard and wedge?
If it's standard deployment, it's just straight across. Now you get to pick which side of the table you're going to be on. And whoever is, attacker gets to pick which side of the table they're going to be on. But you cannot go and go, do side to side, or a lot of people, because we use match, I'll just go and turn it. And the reason is to ensure fair deployment.
And then corner and flank, are you just doing left and right?
Left and right, yeah. So you pick, okay, I'm going to pick the left one on this side, or I'm going to pick the left one on that side. Because there are certain times where, if it works for going straight across, making it work for diagonal in both diagonals.
That's unique. I don't know if I like that.
So
it's interesting.
If you want to see one of the reasons why that convinced me to do this, take a look at the Giant Titan table.
Listen, I have been put into some awful deployment zones, and I've put people into awful deployment zones, and it
Oh yeah.
I
it
would
can be hindering, but
as a team,
it's part of the game. I
I would
feel.
rather have it determined by the gameplay and not have the deployment zone be a deciding factor in the game. It's sort
How
of
do you think about that,
Really?
Dixon?
I don't. I mean, I don't particularly like it, but I'll play it as is, I guess.
Yeah, I'll see how it goes.
so. This was
I'm,
like
I'm a huge fan. I'm sorry, but I'm a huge fan that like decisions matter. I don't want it to be lopsided.
so
But I
it's
definitely
avoiding the also because I do preset maps for all these tables.
Yeah.
And there's definitely times where it's like, oh, there's like if you play Euripides in this
Yes.
corner, you literally cannot fit your crew in it for some of my maps.
Yeah.
And it means I don't have to change my maps then too. But this came as a recommendation from the crew that came down from the Pacific Northwest because I asked for feedback after the tournament last year, and they mentioned this. And I've been to the GT they run up in the Pacific Northwest twice, and they had this that way. And so it allowed for more interesting maps where you don't have a corner where you get
completely hosed.
I will say, Doug, like I'm interested to try it, but even as a player who's been put in awful deployment zones, I kind of like it sometimes because it forces me to try and solve that puzzle.
It very rarely affects the crews that I end up bringing, but there are times where I've ran into crews where it's like, oh, this direction is great. This other direction, it's nothing but firing lanes. My opponent is playing Old Perdita 2, and they got to choose that one. So I'm not making a choice here. I'm just proper fucked because I've got no cover from that angle. Where the other angle, it's fine.
That's fair.
And the other one that I think that he changed is definitely interesting from last year is you aren't doing bans this year.
Correct.
That I was like, what in God's green earth?
So I've always viewed bans as a stopgap measure. When if there's stuff that needs to be errataed, that is when I think bans are the way to fix it. So when there was the Mayfang Hoffman 2 combo, that it was the way you fix that was, you ban Augmented. The reason for doing bans, I'm of the opinion that it's to fix known issues that are very specific interactions that more or less break the game. With the release of Ashes and, other erratas, I don't think there is any of those particularly awful combos right now that I have ran into. Also, this was a reaction to feedback from multiple sources where bans can feel restrictive to a new player. Where it's like, oh, well, this is literally all I have. And if you ban it, it's like, oh, well, I can't field a full crew. Or I would rather, hey, you know what? Play the game.
Yeah, I was actually happy you didn't bring it this time because I think that a lot of issues have been kind of resolved that we were having issues with. The one that I think we'll still have problems seeing a lot of is story out of keyword. But besides that, I think we're in a pretty good spot as far as just a mix goes. But I was excited to not see it this year because I was like, there's a lot of out of keyword shenanigans that I want to continue to play.
Oh yeah, I mean, and like I'll say this: any event that I run, barring extreme circumstances or specific, odd variations, I like double masters being available. I will say this right now. If double masters were truly a problem, you would see it winning every single event.
Yeah.
But you don't. And it's not because the competitive players are like, oh, well, I want to be sporting and I don't want to do this by fielding a double master. No, if they had a broken double master combo, they would fucking run it because, at the highest level, they want, it's all about winning there.
That's true.
But you see it ran in very specific situations. And it is, the way I look at a double master is essentially, for the most part, it's costing you at least 16 soul stones to field that double master. Well, that is essentially at least 2 reasonably priced minions models. And in a game of AP efficiency, you're trading 4 actions plus potential bonus actions for 3 actions and a bonus action.
Yeah.
So you are trading activations for a very specific reason.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of situations where the bang's worth the buck there, right? It's just kind of like it's good. Like I've played a lot of double masters where I'm like, yeah, man, this is really good. But a lot of times I just feel like you can do more staying in keyword a lot of times.
Oh, 100%. I mean, honestly, most of the time when I run double masters, it's mostly because I want to pull some Marcus bullshit.
Yeah, right.
And honestly, most of my Marcus is a second master shenanigans so that I can mutate a beast he doesn't normally have access to inappropriately. They are not AP effective lists. They are silly, fun, shenanigansy lists because you know what? Doing Titania and a Malisaurus and Marcus to mutate a dinosaur is hilarious and fun.
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I wish that I had been playing Double Masters when I was playing against 10 Thunders because I would have played, what's his face? You just said the name, jeez, Barkus.
Mm-hmm.
Because the ability to have Gravity Well at will on a hard to remove piece is so good.
Oh yeah,
and I lost because of that. There was so much placing shenanigans that I lost because of that.
And he's great. He's like, oh, you bring him, you bring the mysterious emissary, and it's
Correct.
like, oh, hey, you're in severe. Well, I'm going to bring the severe terrain to you. You're on negative flips here, and I'm going to drop a puddle of sadness and hazardous well underneath your feet. So
yeah, there's nothing you can do about it either. It's like, oh, I have always on severe terrain right next to me.
But
jeez, that sucks for you.
It's expensive to bring that combo in.
I don't care. 16 points to damn near guarantee winning.
It's tons of fun. But here's the thing. Depends on like if you see that they're bringing that, cool. You bring a crew that doesn't need to go where Marcus is. You bring a crew that that you're able to spread out around them.
I get it that like player strength is still gonna beat out shenanigans like that, but that's the kind of double masters is the kind of stuff that like pushes away newer players and people that want to play the game in keyword, which is, in my opinion, is like the larger part of the game community.
Oh yeah, I mean if I'm playing a double master, like I said, specific reason, most of the time it's for shenanigans.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I mean, you take a look at it. That's an expensive model.
Oh yeah,
and suddenly I'm losing a lot of AP efficiency. It's not okay. Barkus makes a phenomenal second master, yet I don't see a lot of people bringing him as a second master. If it were a problem, you see everyone fucking doing it.
I don't disagree with you with that. I think that not enough people have actually gotten used to it in your area. Because we know that your area is like hyper, like aggressive, very competitive, and very skillful. Like to be a Texan player, basically you have a higher skill floor than most of the U.S., if not all of the U.S. So maybe that's why you're biased.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting looking at the award setup that you have, Doug. I was just looking at this while you guys were chatting about nonsense. That obviously you have the biggest hat, which is,
champion,
champion of the tournament. And then you have second and third as well. You have Iron Scorpius, which is, hey, you played a different master every round. Yep. I've given up on that because I'm just not good enough in multiple keywords. Best painted, best in faction, Fauxdown fan favorite, which is sportsmanship. I love this one. If you want to, this is the last one, the medical automaton. You want to talk about what that award is?
Yeah, so this is one of those ways to reward sticking with it. Because something that I see in most any event that I go to, any 2-day event, there's always drops the second day. Depending on where, like, okay, if it's you're there just for a Malifaux event and you're not at a convention or something, I see fewer drops. But
okay.
and I mean, honestly, a lot of times drops are because someone went out and got way too drunk the night before and is horribly hungover or still passed out the next morning. But there are times where players comment out and they're like, "Oh man, I just had a garbage first day, and I just got a bad draw. I drew into Landon round 1, and then then I happened to get paired up against another top tier player who just took a close lost round 2, and so you just get you're scraping the bottom of the barrel there. You got dumpstered.
Yeah.
Well, so what the Medical Automaton Award is, I take a look at the players who were in the bottom third of the standings after the first day of the event. And whoever finishes the highest of those, and then they also have to complete all of the rounds. So if you drop out, well, you're not eligible for Medical Automaton. You got to stick with it. But it's to reward players who you started out rough, but you stuck it out and played all the way through. Because a lot of times you're in that bottom third there. I mean, that's going to be a lot of the new players or people who maybe got dumpstered a little bit.
Yeah, you ran into Andre and Brian and then somebody else and you just got dunked.
And it allows for that, you know what? Yeah, we know that if you're coming from that level right there, you're not going to win the whole thing. Just, statistically, it's nearly impossible to lose, 2 out of 3 rounds the first day. So it's like, loss, tie, or loss, win. Yeah. You're probably not going to be top 3. But it gives you that chance of, hey, you know what? You get this extra prize here because you stuck it out. Yeah. And really, I view any tournament as a chance to get in as many games as possible. And if you happen to, hey, I'm competitive and I'm in it, that's awesome. But anytime I go to an event, I just go, sweet, I'm going to get in, X number of games. I'm going to have a fun time. And the less seriously I take it, the less pressure I put on myself, the better at it I tend to do.
Yeah, and the last thing I want to talk about with your event, well, there's 2 things. One, there's a hotel block that people can just get. It's like walking distance to the game store. So that's really reasonable rates, and you can find that in the player document or on the website. But the last thing I wanted to get from each of us is I wanted to have each of us pick one round pool that we're really interested in, or maybe it's there's something about that pool that we like or find just maybe troublesome. But instead of going through all of them, I want us all to just pick out one pool that we're I kind of like this, or I thought this was interesting. So let's go ahead and handle that way. And if people want to look at the rest of the pools, they can check it out in the player packet. So I have one if you guys want me to start.
Yeah, I will go last because you know what? I made these pools, and I want to hear what rounds you're each.
Dixon, you want me to go first?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Looking at all these pools, Doug, I've played all of them except for I don't think I've played round 6 yet. I might have, but I don't think I have. So I've already played most of these. Okay. And I will tell you, round 5 is a bloodbath. That pool, it's wedge deployment, cloak and dagger, let them bleed, in your face, deliver a message, information overload, and ensnare. So everything about this pool, you have to engage with your opponent except for information overload. So literally, the cloak and dagger markers are going to be on the center line. They're going to be next to models. You're going to be taking tokens away from models. You're going to be delivering messages. You're going to be smashing people within your face. I've played this twice, and my goodness, it's a bloodbath.
Now, here's the question: is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Oh, I love it, dude.
Oh, okay.
I love it.
Because I could
And
hear
it's wedge too, so you're just getting into
say
it.
that exact same review of it and go, and I hate it.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
like-
that's the thing, though.
This is the worst thing I've seen all year.
if you are not that player, you need to have a plan for that pool, because we all know that there's players out there who they want to do their scheming and do their thing, and they don't really engage a ton with the enemy unless it's like maybe ensnare or something, right? But then there's people who just like, yeah, I want to get in your face and kill. And I love that this is round 5, because this is where you're really starting to level out with the players that are your skill level.
100%.
So it's not going to be like, a top player smashing a noob. It's going to be like, oh, we're 2 newer players and we get just to punch it out, It's going to be fun.
Okay. I can see that.
What about you, Dixon? What's one that sticks out to you?
Actually, so I've only had a chance to practice basically round 3 and round 2.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel very comfortable with round 3.
Okay, so round 3's wedge deployment, raid the vaults with power ritual, outflank, information overload, take prisoner, and protected territory. This is like almost the opposite of round 5.
Yes.
It's a good one, though. I like that pool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're already close to the opponent as well, which is the reason why I like it a lot. Is like you can either engage immediately, or you can just try to like catcher smith them.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I enjoyed it a lot. I'm playing Oni for all 6 games, so that was actually the coolest thing. I forgot who I was playing, but I remember that extended reach was big. It was like a huge problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the reason why I was excited about it, because extended reach is like all over that keyword now.
Yeah, and outflank can be a little dicey into wedge deployment, right? Because sometimes it's hard to keep the outflank on the center line and not just have something come over and smoke you. So, but this is a very schemy pool besides obviously sitting on raid. So I like this one too, because it definitely had a good mix where I felt like it was positional, but a lot of like interact actions that you'll want to take throughout the game. Plus, I like Take Prisoner. Take Prisoner is one of my faves. What about you, Doug? What's one where you look at it now and you're kind of like, man, I kind of like how I designed that one?
So I think of these, round 6 is my favorite. So I think it's really the first one that I really built. When it comes to building pools, I don't just randomly do it. Oh, there is some randomness to it. Yeah. But the way I go about building pools is that I will determine, okay, which strategy is going to be repeated and which deployments are going to be repeated. And I pair them up and I scatter them across the weekend, so you're not playing, stuff the ballots back to back with stuff the ballots, because that's no fun for anyone. And so I consulted with a few different players, just kind of workshopped it, going, okay, what strategies do we feel are the most balanced strategies? And the 2 that kind of tied out for it were plant explosives and stuff the ballots. As far as the ones where it's like, hey, regardless of what kind of crew, what kind of master you play, you're going to find a way to play this one well. Yeah. And it sort of is the round 6. Ideally, this is the fight for all of the marbles is taking place round 6, where we've got the top 2 players running into each other. And I wanted this to be a round where it's the, just the best possible crafted round for whoever is going to be playing it. I want it to be the round that decides the tournament.
Yeah, and it's standard deployment, plant explosives, deathbeds, outflank, espionage, sweating bullets, and protected territory. I do like that you have outflank and espionage in this pool, because I could bluff one or the other.
Yep.
And be like, I'll put one in my deployment zone just to make you think maybe I'm doing espionage, but then I can also switch and be like, nope, I'm actually doing outflank.
And you can also be bluffing protected territory with that as well.
Yep.
And I like building pools where it allows for the bluff. And when it comes to the way I distribute schemes, is that so if there's 3 rounds in a day, that means there are 15 different schemes. We have 13 schemes available to us. So I make sure in a 3-round tournament, basically I've built this like 2 back-to-back 3-round tournaments as far as pools.
Yeah.
And I make sure that each day, every single scheme is available at least once, and that the 2 that repeat are not repeated on the other day.
And I don't know about you guys, but I have more and more started to like sweating bullets. I've liked that scheme more and more.
Yeah,
Sweating bullets is one of my favorites, especially the Marcus crew.
Yeah.
I like it.
No.
I like it with the bear and the Groot sling because 2-inch engagement range.
Yeah.
And usually those 2 are rocking wings for me. So they can suddenly go, oh, you think you're good? Caca! I'm really a bird! And I've got 2-inch engagement range.
You can build a list to limit the amount of models they can score off of, though.
Right.
So if you don't bring like any henchmen, they just like, okay, well, if their master doesn't come in here, I guess I'm only scoring the second point.
Right.
Yeah,
and it's
but that's a huge thing because like you almost have guaranteed 1 point if they don't figure that out.
Yeah.
Right. It's one of those ones where you tend to score the first part in like round, I don't know, turn 3 or 4. Because like, oh, what is he going for? What is he going for? And then they forget that it's in the pool. And then they, like they might be dodging it early on. And then they forget. And it's like, well, but I really got to get over here.
Yeah.
And like, ha! Here we go.
Gotcha.
But also, the model that you picked for the first part of Sweating Bullets has to survive till then.
Yeah. So, I mean, playing Shenlong, I've been picking Sensei Yu for that a bunch. Because Sensei Yu just kind of stands there and he's just like, come at me, bro.
I tend to pick either the Groot Sling or the Bear, depending on which one of those I need to be accomplishing something else.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
But with this, plant explosives. I think it's a great scheme that requires some thinking and, getting the actions out there. Deathbeds is always fun because like, oh, I got to drop heck, you could be thinking, oh, they're going for protected territory. Well, I'm going to go get over close to this one and go, haha, deathbeds.
Now, I do want to apologize to you, Doug, and to everybody that plays at the Fauxdown. I think we've been putting out a lot of 10 Thunders content, and there might be an excessive amount of 10 Thunders players at this event.
There could, I mean,
oh really?
I'm trying to.
I don't know. I'm just making fun, but
it's been a mixed bag, and I mean, a lot of the Texas guys have kind of been shuffling up what they're playing. So, I mean, I know Devin and Travis
find events,
but
good.
Oh no, but ultimately, all of these pools are ones that like I took my time crafting these and making sure that they're mixed. Because I mean, even the Bloodbath pool, if you're an interacty crew, you can still score it, but you just got to be smart about it. And I try to make it so that every pool has got a mix of interacty and killing.
That's an interesting. I think I have a pretty decent tip. So, if you're playing Cloak and Dagger, so there's 2 ways I think you can play Cloak and Dagger because remember when they interact with the marker, you get to place it 4 inches. So if I think I'm the crew that's not the beatdown, meaning like I'm not the one that can be aggressive because their list is more punchy or more killy than me, I'll take the strategy markers and move it away from their crew and move it into their half of the table. So that way, if they want to engage with those markers, they now have to retreat back to their half of stuff. And whereas, if I'm the aggressor, I'm going to bring those cloak markers when they get engaged, when they get interacted with. I'm going to bring them into my crew, so then they're forced to engage in, and then you can beat down with it. So I do think, depending on how the crews are built and how you recognize which one's going to be the beatdown, that can dictate how you play Cloak and Dagger.
Oh, 100%. Well, it's also important to remember that it's like, okay, that guy might be scary and I might want to kill him, but he's got some intel on him and that I could just take from him, and that will deny him some points.
Oh,
and
for sure.
It's remembering to play Malifaux and not Killifaux sometimes. Even if you are the beatdown, recognizing when it's like counting up how many actions you have left and how many intel tokens you've got going.
I played this on Friday, and I had to keep reminding myself I have 2 activations left. Where am I getting my intel markers from or tokens from? And you have to keep reminding yourself that, because it's easy to forget and kind of zone out, right?
Round 1 and point 1 and point 2 are easy to score. There's lots of times where you'll see people going, you know what? I'm just not going to get the point 3 off of this one and just doing other things and going just like, oh, 4th point, screw that. I'm not even worried.
I feel like a lot of times you don't get the 4th point on Cloak unless you're just winning already pretty well.
Or if you've got some of those shenanigansy things.
Yeah.
Such as,
AP efficient crews.
Or ones where it's like, oh, well, I can interact through someone else. Like Titania.
Yeah. Like the Nightcrawler Network or some nonsense.
Nightcrawler Network,
Good
Titania,
God.
Rasputina. The ones where it's like, hey, I can take interact actions, drawing line of sight from not me. Because suddenly it's hey, I'm interacting with you to steal your intel. And there's no way for you to get someone to me to take it back. And that tends to be a good thing to have in that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Doug, you ended up taking Marcus 1 and Neverborn to GenCon, and you won the championship belt. Glorious as it is there.
I have the belt!
Is that real?
He has it?
Yeah.
Fancy.
Look at that. It's not. I think it's pleather, but it's still really.
It's pleather. Pleather is better than leather. It doesn't crack
really
or
nice.
fade.
Yes, it's got like metal rivets and stuff. This is like really, really nice.
Congrats, man.
Frame that, Doug.
Well, I've got to figure out how to hang this. Hang it on the wall when I'm not wearing it.
Are you going to wear it around?
I'm just going to wear it around
the Houston Fauxdown.
Whoa! It's across the chest. Don't put it. Don't put it on your.
I'm just gonna wear this and nothing. I mean, last year I wore a kilt. This year,
that's
this
a belt.
and nothing
I'm
else.
putting it on my shoulder.
Well, I'm sorry.
Do it on the shoulder, and then have my hype man follow me around.
There you go.
I gotta
hype man, Clay.
Hire my hype man.
Is Clay gonna follow you around?
No. Just get a young kid. And say, it's like, I'll give you $20 if you just follow me around for like 2 hours with this thing.
Totally. You know what? I just need to hire someone to do that. That'll be awesome.
That's what I'm saying, man.
Okay, I will hire my hype man.
There you go.
So it was exciting.
So you said you played the same list. What was that list you played all 3 rounds?
Here, do you want me to paste it into the chat there, just so?
Yeah, you can just say it.
All right, cool. Well, then I won't.
The chat will go away once we're.
Oh yeah. So what I ended up doing for this was playing Neverborn Marcus here. So Marcus won with Ancient Pact on him. The Jackalope, obviously. Miranda, 2 Mole Men.
Ooh.
The Groot Sling.
Okay.
Slate Ridge Mauler with Ancient Pact.
Okay.
And 3 Corrupted Hounds.
Wait, you didn't even play Cedra?
So, I've gotten 1, maybe 2 reps with Cedra on the table.
You sly dog.
Here's the thing, is that, so going into this, I was really, really busy leading up to GenCon.
Yeah.
And I didn't really have a chance to get in extra reps with anything. And I showed up at GenCon. I was going to do the Malifaux bingo on, I think it was Friday. And then I'm just like, I ended up refunding that ticket because I just didn't have the mental bandwidth to do it that day.
Sure.
By the time Saturday rolled around, I was like, okay, I'm here. But you know what? I sat down. I'm like, I had not looked at the pools at all. I literally did not look at the pools for GenCon until I sat down that Saturday morning.
Nice.
And I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to come out. I'm going to have a fun time. There's a lot of people here who I know, who I really like playing against and like playing near. So, you know, I'm going to go out. I'm going to have a fun time and not worry about it. And ended up doing really well, obviously. And so this is a crew that I'd put together for Captain Con. And then I ended up playing it 4 out of the 5 rounds in Boston. And Boston was the most recent competitive event I played before coming to GenCon. And so literally I sat down and it's like, okay, go to get my cards out. And the crew is still just stacked up in the front of my card box. I'm like, fuck it. I'm just going to play this. It works.
Throw down.
And it's a weird list.
Yeah, it is.
I threw this. I put this onto the table against
super mobile though.
Against Longton Haku, and he looked at it. He's like, "What the hell is this?" And then after the game was over, he's like, "Oh, okay, that was surprisingly good."
And for people who aren't like Doug and myself, who are I consider myself a Marcus 1 connoisseur myself, except for I play it in blue. But I will say the Groot slaying, super mobile. Obviously, you're going to the layer markers. The mole men, you can just basically have people, or not people, it's Beasts or Marcus essentially, or Miranda, just teleport to these different tunnel markers. So you have like some crazy mobility
from the tunnel markers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the idea behind this crew. Well, first off, this brings up the stuff with bans, because at Gen Con they were running bans too.
Yeah.
Well, you bring Marcus 1, they can't ban anything that is a beast.
Yep. That's huge.
And so it was literally, now it is broken in the app where if you play with bans in the app, it avoid, like if I say, okay, I'm playing Marcus and they ban Swamp Fiends, it won't let me select it even if I play Marcus 1, because that's that weird corner case scenario they haven't worked out in the app. And I've cleared this up with the designers, and I've cleared this up with every TO. They're like, oh no, it does make it versatile. The ban doesn't hit that, but it just is broken in the app.
Yeah.
So every single game, I prefaced it saying, after I said, I'm playing Marcus. Now, bans might break it because it doesn't recognize the versatile. And that came up at least twice, because they banned Swamp Fiend because they're scared of Zoraida.
Of course.
And Woe tends to get banned a lot.
Because also the Kurgan.
Why?
It's also the Kurgan. Like, because the thing is, one of the best one of the best things about the Mole Man is that the Mole Man can turn basically any beast that's a beater into a schemer beater.
Yep.
Because of how far you can move them.
Surprise, there's a bear in your face.
Yeah, it's like, 100%. How the heck is this bear? Yeah, how's this bear like 12 inches away from where he started before he activates?
Well, and so
engaging me.
And that's the reason why I bring the Groot slaying. Is because the Groot slaying, I was workshopping the idea of using the Mole Men to jump models up the board.
Right.
Well, the Groot slaying starts with the 3 layer markers on the board. And so I'm using those for my Mole Men to, if I've got the cards in hand, to, tunnel up there and leave a tunnel marker behind, do that. If I don't have the card in hand to get the trigger off, it's more important for them to leave the tunnel markers for my friends. And it's important to note that because the tunneling action that your friends get to take is caused by an ability, it does not count against their bonus action limit.
Now, I've heard that rule 2 ways. So I would just say to make sure you talk to your TO about it, because I've had some people agree with that, and then I've had other people say that no, it still does count. But
give me one sec. It is very specifically in the call out box here.
You're paying for the action in another way. That's the reason why, Pete.
Oh yeah, I understand. Like that's the way I play it. but I've also had people that I just talked to about Marcus where they disagree with that ruling.
Oh, I misplayed this. Oh, I was playing that it counted against me. And then when we were at the airport on our way home from the Washington GT, Andre mentioned this. Like he was mentioning, looking at he was eyeballing Arcanist and looking at Mole Man. I'm like, wait, Andre, why are you looking at Mole Man? He's like, oh, well, because it doesn't count against your action, your bonus. I'm like, what? I've been playing it wrong the entire time because what it says.
It's kind of like when
you played it the fair way.
Well, I played it the way that I assumed.
It's like with Sandeep, where when you pitch a card, you do an action, but it doesn't count against your action efficiency.
Correct.
Right. And this says bonus actions generated by actions, abilities, or triggers. So it's generated by an ability. May be taken even if the model has already taken a bonus action during the current activation. Now, and do not count against the model's one bonus action per activation.
I think something else for people to, if you haven't played with or against Marcus 1, you probably don't even know this, but there's two other things going on here that I think is very powerful with Marcus 1. So he when he puts out his ability or his upgrades, he just puts it out. If you get the mass trigger, put another one out. And when your crew discards those for whatever effect, you get to draw a card, so that's cool. But the big thing is you charge models out of activation. So not only are you using the tunnel markers, but then you're using Marcus to get Miranda to get him further up the board. Plus, you can accomplish with him and Miranda as well.
Yep.
And I guess if you're also bringing it, you can do the same thing, I believe, with like 3 other models. But like the 2 big ones are Miranda and Marcus doing the charge outside of activation.
Yeah, the Order Initiates have got the move outside of activation, Call of the Wild, but they don't have the trigger for taking a charge. The trigger is built in on Marcus. Miranda doesn't have the suit built in.
Yeah. There's just so much mobility. Like, they're kind of squishy. You have to learn how to keep them alive until they're like at least 2 upgrades up. But my God, are they fast. They're just so fast, and they can be really hard hitting, especially the bears with like 2+ upgrades on them.
I love the bears. The bears are
I think that list that you brought, Doug, is very good at like plant explosives would seem very good with that list. What were some of the other strategies that you played with it?
Let me see what was in. How about I pull it up in the app? See what did I play? I don't remember. It's all kind of a haze. Like I played this because my brain was pudding, and then I kept playing it because I'm like, I'm just gonna keep going with it. Because
were you surprised how well that worked out at GenCon?
So this was one of those things, like I said before,
because it seems like a weird list.
The less seriously I take it, the better at an event I do. And I got the right draw I was looking for at GenCon. Is round 1, I drew into a newer player. Now, they were a player that has been under the tutelage of one of the guy who won the NAFT championship, Grant. His buddy, I played against him round 1, but is a newer player who has not seen all of the things. So that's kind of the matchup I want to get round 1. Round 2, I drew into Neverborn. And I know that Marcus loves playing against Neverborn because then I don't have to worry about guns. And I know that my Marcus crew can outpace most other Neverborn crews.
Oh, yeah.
And then round 3, I played into one of my locals. I played into Devin from Houston. And he is someone who I've played against. And part of it was that the last game that I'd played against him before going to GenCon, I played this list against him, and he did not do well against it. And so it was I've been playing it all day. Might as well, I know that crew inside and out, upside down. So it's just kind of I'm just going to go with what I know, and I know he does not handle it very well. Also, I knew that it did a good job of handling what he could do.
Gotcha.
So that's the reason I ended up playing it the same list all 3 rounds without changing it. It was entirely out of laziness, and then looking at the pools, go, yeah, this can handle it. Cool, whatever. But yes, because round 1 was Cloak and Dagger, standard deployment. Round 2 was Plant Explosive Flank, and round 3 was Stuff the Ballot Wedge.
So a model that I was playing around with, Doug, and this seems like it might fit into that list that you have. Have you thought about, or have you tried a lot of the Empyrean Eagle yet with that crew, or no?
Not with this crew. I've ran the Imperium Eagle in a few lists. So the way I end up running this list is, so I tend to activate Marcus, one of my first activations, so I can start, upgrading everybody. And I put the Ancient Pact, because I put the Ancient Pact on him so that he does not Black Joker his Chimerancy flips. Because if it's hey, this guy, I need to get this upgrade onto him now, I'm going to
Black because Joker. You can't target the same model twice in the same activation.
Right. And so the important things to get out there is I get Natural Camouflage onto 2 of the dogs, and I put Wings onto the Bear and the Groot Sling, and I like to get Serrated Teeth and Claws onto the Jackalope.
Yep, sounds right.
Jackalope, it's one of the, honestly, just any upgrade onto the Jackalope is important because then
he's just a distraction Carnifex.
But if he's got Serrated Teeth and Claws, his distraction's like, hey, I'm biting you, and I might land a hit. Suddenly,
and then you gain adversary.
Gives them adversary. It's like, oh. So now they've got to think about, it's like, oh, do I stone this 2-2-3 damage spread? It's like, who cares? So, but it's that, but adversary, one's like, oh, the bear's like, I care. Roar. But so the Corrupted Hounds are delightful because, hey, they count as versatile for Marcus 1. Now, if you look at them wrong, if you look at them askew, heck, if you look at them askew from 2 tables over, they just die.
Yep.
But if you can't look at them from more than 6 inches away, well, they will survive long enough to score what they need to score.
And they get disguised as well.
Disguise, yeah. So you gotta, be inside of 6 inches, and then, you either have to have some movement shenanigans, or I'm gonna charge and then take a, walk and then swing, or etc.
Makes it very inefficient to kill and easy to kill model.
100%. And what I tend to activate them very late on the first turn. So by the time I've seen how your crew is getting unpacked, I know what direction you're going. Well, suddenly I've got one dog running to one corner, another dog running to the other corner. And so you're looking at this going, it's like, oh my gosh, how am I going to deal with it? So starting turn 2, they're like, and they almost always end up spreading out their crew more than they should.
Yep.
And usually sending a model that is far more expensive than the 3-point Corrupted Hound. They're sending like an 8 to 10 point model to hunt down.
Is that when you send a bear over there?
So they're suddenly thinning out their crew and sending they're sending their beef towards my shit. I don't, it's like, I know it's going to get my points scored for me, and then I don't give a shit if it dies.
Yeah.
And now you're thinning out your middle, so then the bear is like, all right, dinner time. And they just start picking apart the middle of them. So spread you out, and then I just go pick it apart down the line.
So I think an interesting question for that crew in Neverborn is, what are you turning Miranda into?
Most of the time, I do not mutate her. She doesn't shape change until very late.
It's dangerous.
Well, most of the time, she's either telling the bear or Gootsling, hey, go charge, or healing models up. Because that heal on Miranda is like, oh, you got upgrades on it? Sweet. Positive flips on the heal. Suddenly this model that is almost dead, back to full.
This is probably the one thing that I think Arcanists are better at than Neverborn with Marcus 1, is I think the choices for Miranda to turn into stuff is better on the Arcanist side.
Absolutely, because he got the bear.
You get the bear, but here's the thing. So with on the Neverborn side, you get if the Groot Slang is dead, well, I get the Groot Slang. If Correct. I want to get a Groot Slang out there,
yes,
you get the ads,
yes,
which is phenomenal because it's got flight, it's got huge movement, and it's got lure. So
I was gonna say it's phenomenal, specifically if you can give it any upgrades before it dies, because it's garbage otherwise.
Well, here's the thing: is that normally it's Miranda is shape changing to either get herself out of a tight spot, or I need to get someone else out of a tight spot. So a lot of times it'll be shape change into an ads, and then either lure my enemy or lure my lure my enemy into
I forget the ads as a model,
a bad spot, or lure my models out of being in a bad situation.
The one just a quick thingy, Doug. Hercules is shockingly more mobile than Achi or the ads.
The Aramanthian boar, for those who don't know Dixon Doc.
Sorry. Oh, the Aramanthian. Sorry, Hercules' story.
As soon as you said it, I was like, "Yep."
Yeah, Hercules' story has the Aramanthian boar being killed. It's a thing. I apologize. Okay. Read a dang book, people. Anyway, the point is, Aramanthian boar's ability triggers when she replaces into it. So, like, literally, you replace, teleport, and then you just keep on trucking immediately after.
So like, that's if I need to get her out of a tight spot.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's shockingly effective.
The like if I need to say, oh, Marcus is in a bad spot and they're going to score and snare off of him, Miranda's like, haha, over here. Come here, lover. It's like, okay.
Yeah. That's the biggest strength of Miranda's. That is literally is like, oh, I have options. That's adorable.
If I need to go murder something and I've got other murder, like the Groot Slang still on the board,
the Rougarou.
I like the Bander.
I had to do that.
I like the band. If Bander. She's got formidable horns on her, it gives onslaught trigger
automatically.
And there's a built-in mask on the Bandersnatch. So if she needs to go and do a lot of fucking damage, that's the one I go for because onslaughts.
Yeah, for sure. But the biggest issue with the Bandersnatch is like that's a model that's like famously I got it one shot by a bushwhacker. So like you have to be very careful.
Well, this is I shape change on it.
Into it.
I don't think I rarely ever shape change before like turn 4.
Fair.
Most of the time she's giving that that aura, that defensive positive flip aura, and also being able to say, hey, I'm gonna heal my friends, and hey, I take my bonus action to swap out my upgrade to the same upgrade I've been wearing the whole game and get a card draw for Marcus.
Yep.
But so she ends up really being more of a support piece for me that can then flex into a something that can be a beater or get my stuff to where it needs to be. So
Pete has 2 questions after Dixon. Go ahead, Dixon.
No, I was agreeing with him. I had no
so I don't tend to shape change her a lot. It's very, very situational. And most games, if the game is going well for me, she doesn't need to shape change.
So 2-part question, Doug. So one, I'd like to hear how you're using the Groot Slang, especially because when you do the thing, to the layer marker, you can't like do scheming type things for the rest of that activation. But then 2, how do you paint your Groot Slang up? Because mine looks like a poop demon.
To be fair, mine is half painted, but
that's a hard model to paint well.
I kind of hate the big model. I need to.
I
like the angry tree version of it. So,
okay.
If I'm using it, like if I'm using the Groot Slang and say Zoraida, I don't use layer to layer. I instead smack a model I don't care about and get the trigger that he then gets to place into base contact with the layer.
Okay.
And then you can still interact, which is delightful. The reason I added him to the crew in the first place was because he starts with the lair markers on the board, and I was doing stupid shenanigans with the moment. That was entirely the reason I started bringing him, but then I realized, 2-inch engagement range. Because 2-inch engagement range plus butterfly jump is the most delightfully evil combo that exists.
It's true.
Because like, oh, I've got a 2-inch engagement range. Cool, you got to walk up to me and smack me. Oh, you took a swing at me? Sweet. I'm going to scoot back again.
Yeah, I can tell you from playing the Wind Golem, it's a good thing.
Oh, yeah. And so a lot of times, the Groot slaying doesn't end up being as much of a beater. It ends up running around licking people.
Gross.
Well, because its tongue gives slow.
Yeah, it's bad.
It goes against movement
annoying.
and gives slow. So he goes, it's like, oh, you got that model needs to do a lot of things. Sweet.
I forget what Dixon and I were playing, but Dixon ran over to one of my models and was just licking it to death and giving slow and like distractor or whatever. It was annoying.
I think my favorite moment in one of the games that I played with the Groot slang, I just engaged somebody and they were like, I'm just gonna disengage because I have you know the ability to be able to interact after you disengage, right?
Yeah. People just
don't mind me.
Don't mind me. Yeah. So he had don't mind me, but he didn't know that if he walked away, that there's like, I have wicked, and he's like, okay, that's fine. I'm like, have you seen my attack? He's like, and he looked at it, he's like, ah, crap.
That means you do nothing after you disengage.
That is
like, are you serious about this?
That is lockdown people in games where they're like, they have to get away. So I was like, I'm going to disengage. Cool. I'm going to, it's like, and they were inside of one. It's like, no, I'm going to lick you instead of smacking you because I want to just slow you because that's just mean.
Yeah. You don't have to kill anybody with a
licking someone, giving them slow, and then getting the pull and drag trigger. It's like, oh, you pushed away? Come on back.
Doug, you probably caught COVID at GenCon because you were licking people the entire tournament.
Yeah. You know what? Come to think of it, that's what happened. You know, if I said my model licks you, I licked my opponent. I went for a very immersive game.
Ew.
I ran around without a shirt on. You know
the show Vikings where they go to see the seer and they got to lick his palms, or he licks their palms. That's what Doug was doing.
The biggest negative that I see people doing with even me when I started out with this stupid model is the Groot slang looks like it's supposed to be able to take a beating.
It doesn't.
It doesn't. No, it doesn't. It has the capability to do damage. Don't do that either.
Well, and that's why I think this list is a problem for some people because you can, and Doug, you can let me know if this happened or not. You could see people seeing the Groot slaying harassing models. They turn to bring like a beater over, and then the Groot slaying just disappears.
Yeah, or they start swinging on the Groot slaying. It's like, sweet, butterfly jump. Fuck you.
Run away.
The thing runs away all the damn time. I mean, because it's also got ambush. It's like,
yes.
Fuck this.
Yeah,
and
if you don't lock it,
normally got wings on it, so it's like, fuck this, caca.
Yeah, if you don't engage him, he is like damn near impossible. Like you have to engage him, and you have to destroy also whatever terrain marker layer he has underneath him. It's so hard to pin down. So like that's the main reason why like people usually try to kill him. So you give him disguise or armor 1, and it just goes a very long way.
I tend to put him more. I like the wings on him because it's sort of that. Wait, where the hell did that come from? And butterfly jump plus 2-inch engagement range is just ridiculously annoying.
Yeah,
it's very powerful. Yeah, I agree.
And I mean, it's not you're like, it's not going to. I'm going to outbeat you with it. There, saying no, you're just not going to kill me. And then crap, okay, butterfly jump. Oh, good. Miranda can get me now. All right, there we go.
Yep.
Yeah, I did the same thing, and I imagine there's a lot of lines of play like this with the list you ran. But I was playing against Trevor the other day, and he did by your side with one of the dogs to then attack the first mate. I butterfly jumped out, he charged, attacked again, and I butterfly jumped. And the first mate was like on 2 hit points. So then I just took a Skeeter, did fly with me to bring the first mate back to Bo, and old Bo Fishbacher healed him up, and then the first mate leapt back in and killed one of the dogs.
Yeah, or I mean, there's times where I'm like, oh, it's like, I want you to attack my guy so I can get that little bit of extra movement. It's like, oh, man, I can't quite reach that. It's like, oh, you hit me? Sweet. Now I can reach that point where I need to go drop a marker.
Oh, it's so good.
Or like, oh, I'm going to butterfly jump over to your bomb marker.
So is there, Doug, anything that the Arcanist Marcus 1 does that you kind of wish you could do as a Neverborn Marcus player?
I wish that I had the way to get, Arcane Reservoir. That's always nice. But ultimately, I mean...
And like, turn into the bear.
Here's the thing is, I bring a bear. If I needed 2 bears, I'd bring 2 bears. I generally don't need 2 bears.
My 2 bear list, Doug, was called Cocaine Bears.
Nice. There was back in first edition, there was an old list called Bear Force 1.
Nice.
But I tend to not need 2 bears. And like I said, I don't tend to mutate Miranda all that often.
What about Soulstone Cache? Do you wish you had that?
That would be nice. But you know what? Ancient Pact is great.
It's so good.
Because then Marcus cannot Black Joker his Chimerancy.
And I have turn 1 Black Jokered that.
Oh, 100%.
And it sucks because you're just like... Because when you play Marcus 1 specifically, you want your beast to get their upgrades and then go.
Yep.
And when you Black Joker, especially if it's like... In your case, if it was the Groot Sling, that would be terrible.
Or if I so a lot of this list rides on getting those camouflages onto the dogs.
Yeah.
I know, yeah, it's putting on a 3-point model, but I need to not Black Joker that.
Yeah.
Well, so if I can't Black Joker that, awesome. I also put one on the bear because, well, it's a minion, so it'll give me that card draw when he's done. Nefarious Pact is not a bad thing. But also... Right. The bear tends to be the model that is going around smacking the crap out of people, holding force like, hey, this area is mine. I got 2-inch engagement range, laugh off, and butterfly jump. Come at me.
Yeah, and if you want to see Marcus 1 kind of like an unpack I actually put it on the Rage Quit Wire YouTube channel, but I played Marcus 1 against Sonya, against Rich, and I did a very clean unpack. It shows you kind of what Marcus 1's all about turn 1. And you can use that to kind of figure out how you do that in Neverborn as well. But I like Marcus 1 better than 2. I've tried 2 before, and the title just doesn't do it for me. I don't know what it is.
They play so differently from each other.
They do.
So with the title, you have to bring you have to bring at least 1 Order Initiate just to get those extra upgrades out there to start out with.
Yeah.
Because you need to be discarding those upgrades to get them onto people. But being able to go, hey, you get an upgrade, and you get an upgrade, and you get an upgrade.
I'm a simple-minded guy. I just like to go with Marcus and be like, boom, 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 boom. There it is. Yeah.
But, I mean...
Meanwhile, I'm over here giving upgrades to the first mate because... why not?
Oh, so if I run, I enjoy running a Zoraida with Marcus list because then,
it's so awesome.
Mutated Gators is hilarious. Mutated.
Oh, okay. That's, yeah. I don't even go that way. I just go, okay, me and the first mate together forever, just killing everything.
No, Mutated Gators because it's funny. It's hilarious.
I'm
not going for the good. I'm going for the shenanigans.
I love to mutate? Mate was a bad model.
I love to mutate the Spawn Mother.
I'm pretty sure the people that have said that the first mate is a bad model have, learned their lesson.
I don't think people say the first mate's technically a bad model. I think they just mean it's overpriced for what he does.
Overrated. It's also
overrated,
another word that I've used. Yeah, that I've heard used. Yeah,
they're wrong, but that's okay.
Yeah, first mate is solid. If I see it on the board, I'm like, oh, god damn it, I got to deal with it.
How am I going to deal with him?
It's like, well, that's like 2 to 3 points that I may or may not be able to stop.
This is the first mate, and playing Dread Pirate Captain Zip is exactly why I'm probably going back to Bayou very soon here.
Dude, oh my god. But yeah, like that's I every single time that I hear Double Master stuff, that's all I can think about whenever I play Neverborn. It's like, okay. No, it's Marcus. We were talking about Marcus.
I know.
We were talking about Zip. But like if I was playing Bayou, I don't know what I would be adding. Probably Zip and Ma together forever, because dunking people into pit traps is hilarious.
It is.
Well, and Marcus going, it's like, hey, I got the emissary here, go, and I got, I smack someone and it scoots them, smack them, scoot them into the hazardous, and just go
Hungry
bat,
land,
bat, just back them back and forth through.
It
like
is
a
so
cat,
good.
I'm doing like 2, 4, 6 damage and +1. Bam.
I mean,
and plus
you got to see it in last year when I played the emissary with Marcus too. Marcus is just it's so abusable. It is so abusable.
But it was sort of this list was geared towards gaining grounds 4, spread them out, get my points, and make them chase me down. Where they're going to be so trying to hunt me down and chase me down that they're not able to score their own stuff.
So, Doug, I assume you're going to answer this the correct way, but would you suspect that the person that walks the least in a game is probably going to win that game?
Walking is for peasants.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Your master should not walk if at all possible.
Yeah, I was talking with, I think it was Trevor, but I think the next time I can remember it, I'm actually going to try to count it out. But I feel like in Malifaux, you don't really want to walk. It's just one of those things where when you're taking walk actions in this gaining grounds where you need to be very efficient in your actions, that's a very inefficient way to kind of go about things.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I love the Corrupted Hounds, is that they've got nimble and 6-inch movement. So those models are walking a whole bunch. They don't want to go in charge. They're like, cool, we're running away. We're dropping ski markers. We're dropping strat markers. We're going to vote. And then we'll go and charge something that's like, oh, that thing's, coming to deal with this stuff. Cool, I'm going to charge in there. I'm going to die. But you know what? I'm full of blood.
So I was playing against Trevor and I played Nakima too.
Mm-hmm.
And he had this stupid trap extended bubble up because of the whatever those stupid huntsmen are or whatever they are. The ones that they have like beneath the leaves, right?
Oh, right.
So
yeah.
He put that around like 3 or 4 of my models and it only had 2 hit points left. So what I did is I ran a hound in there and I missed the attack. But because I'm playing Nakima 2, you can just take a point of damage to pulse out black blood.
Yep.
So I'm like, Trevor, it doesn't matter if I miss you because that model's going to die no matter what.
Oh, no, there's times where I have gone and go, okay, how many wounds you got there? Sweet. Something I love about black blood models is maybe it's like if I target you, I've got to flip cards against you, and you can cheat that. But if I hit my own guy, I can still splash blood onto you, and you've got few enough wounds left that it doesn't matter. So,
Yep. So that was super. Nakima 2, like that's what I'm saying. It's pretty impressive where Neverborn is at the moment.
The problem is like you have to think about it in a very unorthodox way, because like I am very used to attacking my own models because I've been playing miniature games for like ever.
Specifically War Machine.
That's among other games, but yes, because it's so natural to me. It's like, oh, I gotta hit my own model, and it's happening in our games. Like you and I are playing, and I'm just like, okay, how much life do you have? Oh, so much. Oh, I hit my own model twice, and you're like, Dixon, what is this crap?
It's that if you can do unresisted damage, is wonderful to do to your enemy. It sucks.
Unresisted damage. Yeah, but unresisted damage is like the bread and butter of Neverborn. It's like almost 100% why we're so aggressively strong. Even though that if you look at our damage tracks, we top end usually at like 6 or 7.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. I was surprised because Novo was this weekend. I was surprised there weren't any Neverborn players at that tournament.
Oh, I haven't looked at the results of that at all. So
it was interesting. I think what was his name? Jeremy, I think, won with Arcanists.
Congratulations, Jeremy.
I think he
Holy
played.
crap.
I think he was even playing some Tony too. So I'd have to pull it up and check, but I think that's who ended up winning it. And I talked with Jim, and he ended up playing Karis 2 for 3 rounds, and he went 2-0-1, so he played pretty decent with her. But Dixon,
Yes.
you hyped about the old Houston?
Oh my God, yes. I'm praying that we can make it. I definitely want to see you there too.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I'm still planning on going, but have to see how the old child's doing at that moment. So
Yeah.
a lot of things can happen in like 6 weeks.
I mean, ultimately, family comes first. That's always understandable.
That's for sure.
For sure.
We'll see how it goes. But until next time, I want to thank you, Doug, for coming on. A lot of fun chatting with you. Dixon, as always, great time. And until next time, make sure that you guys are flipping cards and flipping tables, and we will see you all later.
Thanks for having me. Come to the fun.